Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our replay for today, and I am so excited to bring this one to you, because this is from the DreamHack Last Chance Qualifier. It's from the group stages. Hell yeah. And we have two, I think, of what people are probably the most liked Terrans in the world, as in the top right-hand corner, it's Maru. And the bottom left, from Mouse Sports, you know him, you love him, it's Big Gabe, it's Heromarine. And you know, I was gonna talk about how, oh yeah, this is the group stage. You know, if you win this map, or, this match, of course, winning it, you go on. If you lose it, you drop down, and you're gonna have to face someone else, and you only have one layer left. They're not gonna talk about any of that. No, why should we? It's a double proxy racks from Maru that's gonna be coming out, so we're gonna get a little bit of aggression here. It's gonna just get a little bit spicy. Let's see how Maru can do with this. Now, one thing interesting to note here is that it is only a single gas at home for Maru. So he's not going to be committing super hard to this pressure. It's not going to be anything where he's trying to, just kill Heromarine straight up. That's not the case. That's not going to happen, because right now how this works out is that you just kind of barely get out your first two Reapers. You have just enough gas on that single one to get into your second, and then your third starts after you finish your second refinery. But luckily for Maru, this is actually going to work out great, because that is a low ground CC coming out from Heromarine. This is the greediest build you can do in TVT, is the gas, barracks, CC. This is as greedy as it gets, and well, it's going to be punished. Maru, at the very least, will be able to cancel that command center. There's not much that you can do to hold it if you are Heromarine. And oh, actually scouts it out. Big catch there for Heromarine. Scouts it out with the Reaper. Should just cancel the CC, though. There's no way that you try and hold it. Immediately, bunkers are going to go down on the high ground, and actually a lot of SCVs being brought over just to make sure that these Reapers can't commit up to the high ground. Maru actually going to lose an SCV. Oh, okay. Does manage to snipe that one SCV with the KD8 charge, but a little bit more value. Gets the Marine. So far, it's just been a worker for a worker, and that's about it. Not the most value. And it doesn't look like there's going to be too much more, because that's double bunkers going down for Heromarine, completely stopping any of these jump up points. Yeah, I mean, yeah, barracks going to be lifted off. Maru kind of stumped in his tracks here. Not a lot he can do. He will go up to 5 Reapers, which is going to be, good for trying to, if he wants to dive into the mineral line later for one-shotting those SCVs. But other than that, it just means that this game's probably going to even out, because you didn't get really the worker kills to give yourself an advantage as a Maru. But you did manage to force the high ground CC in the bunkers. So that means that Maru will be able to get his low ground, his natural base on location, just a little bit faster, but pretty much at the same time as Heromarine. And that's not including the time that it takes for that command center to float out to the natural for Heromarine. And it also means that actually Maru will be getting a faster factory, because Heromarine committed immediately into the early Cyclone. So, there's just a few small advantages here and there for both players. Maru, 5 Reapers committing on up. They're just going to push right on by this Hellion. They don't care about it at all. Now we're going to see some SCVs focus down, and there's not enough right there to deal with it. Now more Marines being brought over. Should also have that Cyclone popping out fairly shortly, as the focus fire coming out from Maru is so good. More Marines going down. 2 workers fall, trying to get one more Marine. Can't quite get it. But evens up the worker count, and that is what Maru wanted. Barracks going to get focused down. More Cyclone production, and Heromarine does just immediately pop down the 3rd command center. And this is absolutely what you should do in your games. If you get double proxy raxed and you defend it this well, you only lose 2-3 workers. And that's about it. As soon as the pressure is over, and it's over, 3rd command center, because you know that your opponent is going to be getting into it as well to try and make up for the economy that they lost. And so it's just a good call from Heromarine, as Maru does do the smart thing here, gets his third CC down, and Raven production has started for both players. Interestingly enough, both players did actually opt for the double Cyclone opening, and the reason why you do that is, of course, it's safety. The Cyclone, you can be out on the map with it. You can also defend very, very easily with it. So it's just a nice all-around unit to get early on, especially after such an explosive opening. But both players are eventually going to start to get into their tanks, into the Ravens. This is usually how the games go. I was just looking at it. I mean, looks like this game's going to go into a bit of a stalemate. So, looks like I could sit back. We can all sit back and relax for a little bit. Maybe grab a cup of tea, grab some water, because this game does look like it's not going to end within the first 10 minutes. And now I can actually talk about these players, because there's quite a bit to talk about. When it comes to actually Maru versus Heromarine, I don't think they've really played it in a little while, at least. The last time, I think, must have been either the first King of Battles or Azus Rock tournament was the last time that I remember them facing off properly. And Heromarine always been a player that is just, he is the definition of slow and steady wins the race. Heromarine doesn't do anything crazy. Heromarine doesn't go for super aggressive builds. He will go for timing attacks, and when he does, he will hit those timing attacks. But it's always been a situation where when it comes to finishing games, when it comes to playing with an advantage, especially against these top-tier Korean Terrans, there's just something missing from Heromarines play. There's something missing to finish the job. And that's always been the case. Even against players like Dream, I'm thinking about, against players, of course, like Maru. And while Heromarine is kind of like that gold standard, he is the player that you look at and you say, hey, if you want to play standard, if you want to get to the highest level of Terran versus Terran, if you want to be considered one of the best at this matchup, you got to beat Heromarine. But when it comes to these high-stake matchups, it always just feels like it falls just a little bit short. Now, we do have a small push coming out here from Maru, and honestly, I don't think I need to talk much about why Maru is good at this matchup. He is possibly the best defensive Terran in the world. I mean, I'm thinking back to a best of 3 that Maru and Heromarine played. Ended up 3-0 in favor of Maru, and in 2 of the 3 games, Heromarine had at least a 20 supply lead, if not more. In one game, it went up to 50. And still, Maru defended. Maru got his upgrades. Maru kind of prioritized his advantages and managed to win those games and come back into them, which is absolutely insane. And that's what he does so often. Is he just kind of finds a way to fight back, and it's the Maru factor. It's the 4th race that so often it strikes. Now, in this game, both players are kind of on even footing. Maru does actually have almost a 10-worker advantage. He's actually sitting 8 in the lead right now. 6 now, but we should have another worker cycle coming through from Maru. And +1/+1 for both players, and Stimpack finishing up at around the same time. So not really too many advantages there. It's just really the worker lead for Maru, which is a bit kind of strange. You don't usually see that much of a worker lead at this point in the game, especially with how little damage has happened. But we do have Heromarine trying to find an angle here. Maru repositions very, very nicely. And really, I mean, not too many advantages for either player. The tank count is even, Raven count is even. Heromarine just working with a slightly larger army, and that's 2 Vikings more and about 8 Marines or so advantage, which altogether doesn't amount to, a massive lead either way. Interestingly enough, we do have Maru immediately starting up that +1 vehicle weapons, and I mean, I'll probably I mean, this is a series that can absolutely go long every single game, so I'll probably say this a million more times, but Maru is absolutely a player who will every single game prioritize his upgrades, and he'll never miss a beat as that save. So clean from Heromarine. But he prioritizes his upgrades, and it's to a point where he'll sometimes, he'll skip Stimpack to get +1/+1. Maru will. It's something that I've seen before, and it absolutely baffles me every time, but it works every single time. Now, wait a second. Why? Yeah, I was going to say, where is the +2 armor here for Heromarine? It was just going to start up, did not have the gas for it. So Maru will have just like a slight advantage there. It's not going to be, a massive timing that Maru can hit. Sometimes in TVT, you get these moments where players, sometimes forget, or they are focusing on their army and they don't get upgrades, and so there's this massive window where suddenly you have a player sitting, 2 upgrades up. That's not going to be the case in this game, as Maru is looking for a small push here. This isn't his whole army, but should be able to try and focus down at least a tank. I don't know, actually. No, Heromarine's just going to collapse. He says, this isn't your whole army, Maru. What are you doing here? And absolutely crushes through it. And that is the correct response. Maru, I mean, look how that wasn't... I don't know what that idea was. That wasn't all of his tanks. He's now down to 3 to the 7 of Heromarine. He lost a Raven. He didn't lose his Vikings, but Heromarine's just going to push this down. Scans are going to go down. The tanks are going to push forward. Marines are going to stim. And, I mean, as Maru, sure, you have more Marines, but that doesn't really matter. When you have 7 tanks, everyone talks about, oh, if you get +2 tanks, then you one-shot stim Marines. Well, if you have 7 tanks, it doesn't matter if you don't have upgrades, because they're just good as, yeah, that tank's going to go down, and Heromarine should just be able to continue to push this. I mean, this is such a bad situation for Maru. Again, I don't know. Oh. You should never get caught out like that as the Terran player, as Maru in this situation. That's such a massive blunder. And now he's going to try and reestablish his 4th base, but there's already a double drop headed out there. Heromarine absolutely on top of things right now. This has been such a clean game. And pretty soon he's going to have the 2-2 bio upgrades equalized, the +1 tank upgrades equalized, and he's going to be working with a better economy on 4 bases himself, already established. And, oh, the CC's going to get canceled as well. That hurts so bad. I mean, Maru's he's looking at the minimap. Maru's bringing stuff over, but at the same time, the tanks just get pushed down. I mean, Maru needs to try and establish his 4th. That is the imperative for him, is that he gets this 4th base up. Nice snipe on the medevac, but even then doesn't dip Heromarine's supply that much. But in getting that base established is also going to lose his 3rd. Heromarine just has more. It's 9 tanks to 3. Sure, Heromarine, oh, he doesn't have any Vikings anymore. Sure, he doesn't have any Ravens. But, when you have this much army, you're working with 9 medevacs. You can absolutely make this work as... Oh, my. Oh, Heromarine. Oh, he's going to look for the Doom drop into the main. He knows Maru's out of position. And, even if this gets cleaned up already, this is going to be so much value, so much production that is going to be canceled. So much, it's such a response forced out. And look at the minimap. Heromarine's committing on the other side as well. Double pronged pressure absolutely everywhere. The base is gonna go down. I mean, this might get cleaned up. Maru's Doom dropping on top of the Doom drop. And maybe these tanks will get cleaned up, but look at the supplies. Maru almost drops below sub 100. The bases are gone. Maru is 30 workers left to the 80 of Heromarine. Sure, his army is still just as big, but that is about it. That is all that Maru has going for him. And the +2 vehicle weapons will be finishing up soon. I mean, Maru just needs to... that's what he needs. Maru has to push now. Maru has to push. He has to find a fight with his +2 vehicle weapons. And he needs to try and win the game right now. There is no more waiting. There's no more delaying. That's it. And I think Heromarine realizes that as well. He sees the move out. He's going to bring all of his units back. It is still... I mean, the tank count has been evened out. That play from Heromarine did mean that he lost a lot of his units, but he's managed to... just slowly kind of bring it back together. And, well, he has a small group of Marines here that are going to try and push a great split against the tank. That one's going to go down. Another going to try and siege up, but that should also fall as well. Heromarine, he's already in position. He's up 60 supply. I mean, Maru's going to try and stim forward, but you absolutely can't. There's just no way that you can. I mean, you load up the medevacs. What are you going to do? Drop on top of them? No, you're not. Loses a full medevac. Heromarine is 80 supply ahead. The base is going to go down. GG. Heromarine takes game 1. And we're on to Hardwire, which is a map that I actually haven't seen a lot of Terran versus Terran on. The only thing that I really know about Hardwire is that there is the one annoying position outside of your 3rd, the low ground 3rd. If you look on either side of the map, there is a little bit of a high ground if you keep going, to the left or right respectively. And I think you might be able to just kind of wedge a tank in there to stop the gas mining, which is just about the only annoying spot when you're onto your first 3 bases. As soon as you get up to 4 or 5, that's where you're going to start to have to deal with, sieges from the low ground on the usual 5th base that will be taken, which is kind of right there nestled on the high ground, directly up from the linear third. But even then, you know, this map in TET, it's very hard to push on it. And the reason is you have so much high ground, so many choke points to really take advantage of. Unless you find your opponent massively out of position, there's really not a lot they usually should be able to do to force, you know, an engagement and win it. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. Of course, it being, you know, Terran versus Terran. I said this in game 1, and that's where we had, you know, the proxy double racks. I'm not going to be surprised if these games go long. We had, you know, a 13-minute game there off of that opening, and in this game, both players just doing the standard. So you have your Reaper, you have your gas racks, gas factory. It's your standard TVT opening. You're going to produce one of two things, and this is a cool little variation that we're seeing here. There are two versions of this opening, just to apply light pressure. Heromarine is doing the completely standard one, which is 2 Reapers and a Hellion being produced immediately. Should probably go up to 3. Okay, I'm just going to stick with the 2 Reapers and a Hellion immediately into the tech lab onto that barracks, so you can actually produce even concussive shell marauders if you want. Whereas Maru went for the Reaper into the reactor, and it pretty much ends up being the exact same thing. Except Maru is going to go for 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions instead of the 2 Reapers and a single Hellion, where Heromarine is going to get out, you know, a faster Cyclone. Maru is going to have a little bit more pushing power with his early units, as well as that faster starport. By, you know, just margins. But these are the two main openings that you're going to see in TVT that you can use in your own games. They're, you know, they're not too hard to control. They give you map presence. They allow you to get a little bit of practice with, if you're looking at this from a lower ranked player at least, with controlling and macroing up behind this. And we do see that Heromarine does actually have the faster command center. Did just spend a little bit less money in the early game, and so we'll have that timing just a little bit ahead on the mule drop. As well as his tank production, of course, just being faster because he did that immediate swap over. But either way, both these players are going to be heading kind of into the exact same build, where we see the 4 Marines are out for Maru, a tank and a medevac on the way. He is going to fly those across the map with the 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions. Again, it's to apply light pressure. You're not going to be hitting a timing where... Usually, you're not going to be hitting a timing where you kill your opponent with this. Just because, at that point, the opposing Terran will probably have a Raven out, but we'll see if Maru does actually go for this. There we go. There's the load up. He'll be pushing across the map. So it's going to look to see if he can find some damage with this, and then we'll start the Raven production of his own. Of course, the big thing here for Maru is that you are setting behind your own tech to do this attack. You are not going to have as quick of a Raven, and you do have a slightly, just a tiny bit later command center, and we see that in the 3-worker advantage right now that Heromarine is working with. But here we go, the medevac going to find its way on into the main base. Marines being loaded down, and a tank to follow. But look at this Heromarine, I mean, just already has so much as the KD8 charge is going to be trying to use to push back the Marines. It might not matter, though, as it gets absolutely demolished, and Heromarine deals with that handedly. Maru is going to try and loop back with the medevac to find some worker damage at the very least for how much he has committed, because right now, well, that's not the most worthwhile. Look at that, though. Tank already loaded up into the main. Heromarine, a super solid early game so far. Still keeping that, you know, slight worker advantage. Currently sitting about 4 ahead, and then just didn't lose a lot. You lose the Cyclone there, it gets focused down by the tank, but that's really, realistically, that's completely worthwhile. Shutting down that attack and taking as little damage as you do for it, for a Cyclone, you take that. Now, Heromarine just going to be poking around with his own little Reaper, seeing what he can see is, oh, okay, repair comes through. And we should have this chased on down. But Stimpack has already started for our European Terran. And really, I mean, this is kind of a worry for Maru. You opt for this early pressure. It just doesn't work out. You're now in a situation where you have to play defensive. And of course, you know, that's where Maru's comfortable. He's fine bringing it to the ultra late game, playing super defensive. But it does just mean that the game really isn't going to be in Maru's hands. And if he tries to push, it should be very easy for Heromarine to counter it. Because Heromarine right now, already has the faster Vikings. So he's going to have 3 out, by the time this attack hits. Has more tanks. It's 4-2. And sure, it's like the Marine count is even, but really, Maru with this push, you're not going to get anything done. And this push isn't meant to. It's meant to stop Heromarine from actually going out on the map. Is what this is. Because Maru should realize there's no chance that he actually gets damage done with this unless he pushes out at the same time that Heromarine is. The Heromarine is just going to take his third. So you're pushing out here just to make sure that your opponent is not going to be across the map, that your opponent is not going to be harassing you, that you are going to have the time to get into the macro state that you want this game to be in as Maru. And this is very good auto turret harass, going to be able to snipe 5 SCVs once again. Same as last game. Does manage to once again put Maru into the worker lead as he started up his +1/+1 and stim, which is interesting because Heromarine had his 2 engineering bays actually done before Maru. We saw it there. The 2 engineering bays have been done for a while. Heromarine, though, has not started his +1 armor, only has the +1 attacks on the way. I have to imagine that's a mistake. And by the time that this push hits for Heromarine, of course, you will have that stim pack down for Maru. The 4 tanks getting sieged on up. Ravens for either side. The energy is a bit of a worry, though, for Maru, because you used it for harassment. You're not going to have the energy for interference matrices as Heromarine does. 1 tank almost gets picked off on that rally. The matrix is going to go away. We should be able to see the siege up, but Heromarine has found himself at least into a position that's going to make it awkward for Maru to really continue to rally workers to his third and to break this. This is such an awkward position, wedged between the natural and the third base. Tank is going to go down and scan, manages to catch that one out of position. And Heromarine right now, almost 20 army supply in the lead, is now producing Liberators because he knows that, hey, I have the air advantage. I can just produce Liberators here to try and help my position. These tanks sieging a bit far forward, but Maru doesn't get vision. It might not matter. Still manages to snipe 1. Now going to look for the repair. Vikings being brought over, using that defender's advantage and the build time. And Heromarine might be pushing a little bit too aggressively, but no, the tanks go down at the third. Maru, this is not looking good for him. He's going to have to reposition his own tanks, fly him over with a medevac. And Maru, doing a great job of repositioning and kind of dealing with this situation. Does have the 1-1 done. Heromarine doesn't. So actually, I don't know if pushing this position is the best. You're down an upgrade as Heromarine. The Marines of Maru just fight so much better. And Heromarine, not able to push that position, is down to 2 tanks here, rallying a third over. But I don't think you can continue to push this position without really, worrying about Maru being able to break it. Maru is... he's the player that finds the full surround, that finds the engagement, that pushes you down if you overstay. Heromarine realizes that. He's going to try and back on up. Doesn't want to risk that from happening. And we'll try and swing this over to the third base. Now, he can, of course, siege up this sensor tower, so you're not going to have that vision on the army movement of Heromarine for as long, but some good scans. Maru going to be able to get rid of 2 tanks here for the price of 1. And +2/+2 has started up for Maru. +1 vehicle weapons on the way. Heromarine has the money for them, but it's just not on top of it. Still does not have +1 armor. And this is actually going to be a massive... It's going to be a massive issue. You see, now that upgrade is started up, that means that Heromarine is always going to be down an upgrade. There's not going to be a situation where, even though he remembers upgrades, he's not going to be up. And he is. Ooh, this is dangerous. Again, the +2 Marines, or the +1 Marines, just absolutely stim that down. Vikings coming over. Maru only loses 2 workers, but a 3 medevac drop into the natural. Gonna try and see how much damage he can get done. Already 8 workers going down. The tank is cleaned up, but all of these Marines are in red hit points. And the medevacs have gone down. Maru should be able to snipe the rest of it. Loses 9 workers, but that actually only evens up the worker count. Maru was sitting at about 81 or so. So losing those workers, not the biggest deal in the world. Heromarine flying out his 4th base. Will be able to get that onto location just a little bit faster than his opponent, starting on his additional starports as well. So recognizing that this game is going to go late, there's not really a situation where either player pushes and just wins the game straight up. And those additional starports are going to be so important for the late game. Maru was the Terran that really, I think, used Raven Viking And, you know, adding in Liberators and this really high-tech Sky Terran army to its fullest potential. Heromarine definitely, though, was another player who was just on top of these late-game transitions with Vikings, you know, with getting out enough units. And the vehicle weapons has started up for Heromarine. So, realistically, the only worry is that Maru, you know, at some point is going to be looking for a timing attack here when he approaches getting maxed out. It's not going to be soon enough, though, that Maru's going to have an insane upgrade advantage. Like, if Maru's pushing out right now, you know, you got 2-2 bio versus, you know, 1-0. You have your +1 vehicle weapons already done. That's not the case. You know, Maru's not going to look for an attack in this window. Right now he's trying to get into his starports. He's trying to work towards fully saturating his 4th base, adding on more command centers, you know, really starting to build up that bank, because this is a very nice harassment. It's 4 workers for a few Marines. And Heromarine is actually putting down the fusion core. I imagine that is going to be for the Liberator range upgrade, but hey, maybe we see battle cruisers. It's been a while. I'd love to see some BCs in TVT. It's not something that you get very often. As +3/+3 started up for Maru, +2 vehicle weapons. The upgrades just coming through pretty much as you would expect in a game like this. Both players moving around their armies, trying to make sure that they know where their opponents are. They're constantly tagging those small groups of units, keeping track of them. Make sure that you're not getting caught out of position, because that is how you lose these games, really. Is that you have part of your army moving out, you don't see your opponent, you know, swinging a majority of their tanks over to one position, and then they just death push you down because you're not ready. Maru bringing the Marines over is going to be able to, not quite able to get the cancel on that building. CC is both players establishing their 5th bases. One big difference, though, here between the builds is the actual choice for the air army. Right now, you know, Heromarine does have the higher Viking count. Is sitting with just a slightly larger army in general. But this is where the big difference is. You know, Heromarine, he likes to kind of stay in this purest composition of, oh, I'm going to get Vikings, and then I'm going to go into Liberators, and I'm just going to kind of have this air army that death pushes you down. Maru, he loves the utility. Corvid Reactor on the way, more Ravens. This group bio is getting chased down and actually doesn't have any tanks here to protect this building 5th base, so that immediately has to be canceled. But Maru loves to mix in these kind of, you know, these casters, these spellcasters in the Ravens. Their utility is obviously so important. You can anti-armor missile to just have your army trade better. You have the interference matrix, and so it's going to be interesting to see how these 2 unit compositions match up, where Heromarine is going for just, you know, the much more straight up, like, hey, I'm going to push, I'm going to kill you, I have more stuff. He's getting ship weapons and ship plating, you know, while Maru is focusing on getting his +2 for his tanks and then the ship plating, because he doesn't really need that attack upgrade. But now we have advanced ballistics done. There is range on these Liberators. They can start to death push. You see there the blue beam of death raining down. Maru has to bring over a few units here to deal with this drop. He's actually going to be able to clean it up in its entirety. But there we go. The Liberator sieging forward. Maru, what are you going to do? Well, he's going to lose only 1 tank so far. Just have to pull them back, though, unsiege, and that means that Heromarine has agency to now push this location again. Sitting with that higher Viking count, Maru is going to try and catch up. 4 Vikings being produced at a time. The Liberator's a bit far forward. Gonna be able to get a few worker kills, but losing the Liberators is honestly pretty big, because that's the main pushing power in Heromarines army. And there we see just an interference matrix goes down. A tank is going to get picked off, and Heromarine not controlling this at all, actually. Losing a lot of Vikings, not even sniping off a majority of the Ravens. Does manage to get one there with the fadeaway shot as the Viking falls from the sky. But that was not a worthwhile trade. That was not a worthwhile trade. Right now, Maru, you know, he got rid of a tank. He got rid of the Liberators and the Vikings, and didn't really lose all that much. He lost 2 Ravens. But that's fine. He's producing 3 at a time. And so now suddenly Maru's the one with an air advantage. Maru's the one with a tank advantage. And Heromarine is still producing Liberators, which again are good if you have air superiority. Heromarine doesn't right now. Those could easily be 4 Vikings at a time, and it's just not. But you do have that ship weapons, you know, on the way. The +2 especially, you know, it's going to help. Your Liberators are going to deal significantly more damage to the tanks. I don't know if they 2-shot them with +2. But your Vikings as well will just fight better, so you want to get that air count back up. And there we go. Heromarine, 5 bases, 4 Vikings at a time, 2 tanks, making sure to get his tech units really established, because that's what matters right now, is those tech units. The Marines, they're fodder. You know, of course, it's nice if your Marines can fight better. You need a good count of them to help to deal and kind of, you know, have that high DPS if they're able to get on top of the units if you catch your opponent out. But when it comes to the sieged up fights, they are there to stop your opponent from pushing for the most part and to allow your tanks to fire and kind of knock down the high value targets. Now, Heromarine is going to try and push this position. Once again, only has the 2 Liberators with this push, but will siege them up. Maru going to bring over his flock of Ravens, which is quite daunting, although, oh, the Marines step forward. Almost all the Ravens go down, but it's interference matrices onto every single tank of Heromarine. And Maru, he sacrifices a lot, but he also gets a lot as well. As Heromarine stims down the 2 tanks that were there, kills off the sensor tower. I'm not quite sure who that was worth for. 10 Ravens have gone down in total. There were at least, I think, 4 or 5 that died. I mean, Maru, again, you got to be careful. That's what the Marines are for. They're to catch moves like that. And now Maru, once again, has to rebuild that Raven count. Of course, with Corvid Reactor, you know, they come out with a lot more energy, and you can use them right away. But you want to build up more, because Interference Matrix costs 75 energy. Right now, Ravens, they can get up to 200. And then the auto turret as well costs 50 energy, so you want to build that up, ideally. Because right now, it's going to be the ship upgrades coming through for Heromarine. This is where it starts to get a little bit sketchy for Maru. Is that if you do push too far forward, if you're not careful, you know, the Vikings of Heromarine just do so much more damage. It is definitely exponential. And so, while Maru will have to, Maru, in quote unquote, has to focus fire his Vikings if he wants to get like the full value of one-shotting things. Heromarine doesn't really have to do that, especially with +3 coming through. You know, and once he gets air dominance back, which he has managed to, 15 to 8 Vikings, this Raven count, it's really not going to be as effective as it was previously. Now, Heromarine being very, very annoying. These range libs, they're a pain. They are a pain in the ass to deal with. You have to bring back all your Vikings just to shoot them down. You know, overall, it's just a use of APM for Maru that allows Heromarine to do what he wants. As we have about the quintuple Venn diagram now being established here in the middle of the map. And Maru is finally going to start on his ship weapons of his own. Very, very good interference matrices, but also very, very solid unsieges. Doesn't matter, though. Maru just commits on in. The tanks are going to go down. And actually, Maru, I think, is just winning this fight. The Ravens getting so much value. I thought maybe Heromarine would be able to fight that back. I mean, he unsieged the tanks. He brought his Marines forward, but no, it just didn't matter. Apparently, there were just more Marines for Maru. He was able to push it down. His tanks were able to fire when Heromarine tried to, you know, push back to counter that move. And then the Raven energy came through. It doesn't matter if you have a bigger Viking count, because guess what? Maru has the Ravens, and that's what he uses in every single one of these games to just crush through his opponent, is that spell casting. You saw interference matrices. Almost every single tank of Heromarine was not able to fire. The auto turrets went down. And it just makes it so hard to fight as the other tank. Now, Heromarine has managed to stabilize both these players sitting on a very, very small bank. But Maru is continuing to push this. Great pickups and drops for the siege onto this 5th base. Maru should be able to knock them down. I mean, Heromarine, you don't really have the time to wait for your upgrades. You need to siege forward. Your Liberators push forward. Your tanks is going to be able to at least stop this position. There we go. The +2 is enough now to 2-shot these tanks. Usually it takes 3. Not anymore. Heromarine, the Liberators being so effective. But it's 5 Vikings for a time coming out from Maru. And again, I mean, another big thing is, even if those tanks didn't get disabled by Maru, Heromarine still only has +1. His tanks don't actually one-shot stimmed Marines. And so there was one tank that, you know, didn't get disabled. It didn't matter. It didn't matter because Maru just stimmed forward. His Marines didn't die to the first shot. It was completely fine. Now we're going to see the 6th base go down. And look across the map. Maru behind this has taken every single base on his half of the map. Right now is sitting at 5 starports, you know, the 2 factories, but is getting the rest of his upgrades finished up. And I mean, right now, Heromarine has started to finally try and get back into a higher Raven count, but it doesn't matter. Maru just has so much more. He's going to push this location forward. Dorito dust on everything. The tanks are disabled. The bases are going down. And Maru looking to try and push this to a victory, drag it to a game 3. A little bit risky there. Pushes into the Liberators. But just more interference matrices. Why not? More spells. Everything's going to be orange. More missile turrets. Everything goes down. Maru will take game number 2. Ooh, and that was a doozy of a last game. Had to take a little bit of a breather. Sorry for that little pause there. So I was taking a drink, but it was. I mean, that was, I think, a proper showcase of what everyone expects from these two players in a late game macro sense. Is, you know, that's what you expect. That's what you want to see. And I think it really did come down to, in the end, it always comes down to this. It always comes down to the Ravens. Like, there's not a TVT game that I haven't seen where Maru does not win the late game because he has Ravens and because he prioritizes those spellcasters so much. And of course, you know, it's a Maru thing. He's able to control them. You know, he's able to siege up his tanks, stim his units, spellcast. He's able to do all that at once. But you want, you know, it's something where I would have liked to see Heromarine mix it in, mix in at least a few. I mean, the idea was good from Heromarine though. Don't get me wrong. Like, going for Vikings, adding on Liberators, and then also prioritizing your ship weapons is like completely valid way to counter that. But you need to be the one attacking, because you need to be able to push those Vikings forward. You know, get a few volleys off and snipe the Ravens. That's what you need to be able to do. And it worked for a little while, until Maru just walks his Ravens forward, says, actually, you don't have the Viking count that you used to, because the Heromarine took a bad trade. This was at the 5th base of Maru, managed to clean up the tanks, and then from then on out, it is just Maru. The whole game is Maru. It's him pushing and attacking. And it just takes one little mistake like that, one little misstep, and Maru will absolutely use it to run over you and win the game. Now, as I said, I don't mind that strategy that Heromarine is going for, with the high Viking count, adding on the Liberators, just using that kind of sheer brute force. And it's definitely something that could work, you know, if you're able to be a bit more proactive with it. But if you don't take that weird skirmish outside the 5th, kind of at the ramps where Heromarine just ended up losing way too much, it can definitely work. Now, interestingly enough, for these openings, we are going to see Widow Mines from both players, which is just that never happens. Like, what is this? Darren versus Protoss? No, it's TVT. But both players getting the safety Widow Mine, and I mean, the main reason is when you're looking at a map that has no ramp up into the natural, it's actually very easy for your opponents. You know, go, oh, I'm gonna, you know, Concussed Shell Marauder Hellion push you. Oh, I'm gonna 3 Reaper 2 Hellion push you. And so if you're not going for something similar like the 3 Reaper 2 Hellion, you can actually just get a Widow Mine out, and that will pretty much guarantee your safety, no matter what. Especially if the units are clumped together and you get a ton of splash damage off of it. But the Widow Mine does offer that safety when you're dealing with, especially Berlingrad, where it's such a wide area that is on even ground to your natural. And I am interested to see how Berlingrad plays out. It's a map that I've seen it go long, but that's mostly been in something like TVZ. The TVP matches on this map, you know, they go, you know, decent length, but you're never gonna see like a 20-minute TVP on Berlingrad, or you don't really see that. As for TVT, I mean, the last time I saw Maru play on this map, it was versus Clem, and he absolutely just smacked him, and then with like a really, really early attack. And then the other time, it was again versus Clem, and he went for a really early cheese that didn't work out. As we have a drop coming in here for Maru, Widow Mine going to be loaded down. Where's the pull from Heromarine? It's good, but still a lot of splash damage does go down. Maru going to try and chase this, but his Hellion actually gets caught behind every single one of his units, and so isn't going to be able to get the immediate damage. Finds 4 SCVs, gets on out. He's going to try and save that Hellion for later. Just pocket it away, maybe repair it up. Give it the fancy treatment. It has earned it. It got 4 worker kills. And the Raven production already beginning here for Maru. So, kind of a stock standard opening. Again, the only interesting thing was the Widow Mine, but that kind of seems, you know, on maps, depending on the shape, you'll actually see metas develop with what openings you go for in TVT. And both Maru and Heromarine are players who are so attentive to that and so on top of knowing, oh, what is the best, you know, what is the most defensive opening I can do? What is the best one for getting, you know, my economy up and still defending well? Interestingly enough, that is a third base coming down for Maru and none for Heromarine. If I am not wrong, there is no third CC for Heromarine. Where is that extra money being spent? Yeah, okay, it goes down now, but I am actually still confused where the extra money is being spent here for Heromarine. Of course, okay, it's the double Vikings. That's where it is. I was really struggling there for a second to understand how Maru has about a minute lead on his command center timing, but it is because Heromarine ran immediately into the reactor on his starport, so he's actually double pumping Vikings right now. And that means that, yeah, you're going to have a lot less money because you're spending 300 minerals and about 150 gas per production cycle on that, whereas Maru got his 2 Ravens out. And of course, that is just, you know, you're only spending 100 minerals. You can get out the much faster command centers. Here we go, drop going to come through from Maru, and it's actually right as Heromarine is pushing. So this is a bit of an uncomfortable situation for the European Terran. You're going to lose a lot of SCVs. Oh my! 12, 14, and even more going to go down. That is disgusting. 19 SCVs fall. Heromarines at 29 workers. What? Yeah, that shouldn't happen. I mean, right now the only advantage the Heromarine has is that it's 6 Vikings to 3. And, you know, that's it. He has equal tanks. He does have 13 to 1 Marines. So if Heromarine is able to push this, maybe find some counter damage, but no, he's just going to back up. I don't feel like that's the call at all right now. Because, I mean, Heromarine, he's been knocked down to 33 workers. Maru has his 3rd CC. Orbital command already finished. Maru has +1/+1 on the way. The stim timings are sure the same, but that's just so much damage for you not to get anything done across the map, is the thing. And Heromarine did invest in getting the stronger army. He only built 1 Raven, then started his double Viking production. Now, this is nice. 3 Reapers going to push on up here. Going to be able to deny or delay the first or one of the building barracks as the Vikings going to continue to push out. Some great interference matrices here by Heromarine. This is exactly what you need to do. Just try and get a little bit of extra damage. Try and find a little bit of extra value. 6 SCVs have gone down in total, actually. We're not getting a shot of it. Those Reapers are still alive. In the mineral line, they're getting a ton of value as another tank goes down. 7 SCVs fall. Maru just, I mean, doesn't have a lot of Marines to work with. And so he couldn't pull any to deal with those Reapers. Heromarine managing to find some damage. Both these players still sitting on 2 bases, just trying to rebuild their worker count. And Heromarine will finally start on the engineering phase of his own, but he's going to be a long time until he catches up to the 1-1 of Maru. Now the Liberator sieging on up. Marines are going to try and push forward, but that is absolutely not it. The Vikings got to be able to clean it up, but you lose a lot if you're Maru. Heromarine still not comfortable enough to push it, though. Doesn't want to force the issue. Just going to settle for picking off the supply depots here at the edge of the base. Oh, as these tanks left alone, auto turrets going down. Lock on onto one of the Ravens, manages to snipe it. And the siege forward from Maru. A lot of the tanks going down here for Heromarine, now 3 to 5. And all of those at home for Maru as the Vikings are going to land. And they're actually just going to look to focus down that starport, I believe. No, they don't. They just not have enough time to. And Heromarine, I think he's overstayed his welcome. Does still have a large, group of reinforcements coming to help. But mind you, again, you're working with worse upgrades right now. Maru has his +1/+1 done. That's a big difference. It means that if you stim forward as Heromarine, you're just not going to be able to get as much value. This is a bit sketchy here for Maru. Lose 2 tanks. Should be able to pick off a second one himself, but the Viking count again for Heromarine is just so high. 6 Vikings to 4 now. Can continue to push this. Medevacs have begun production for both players, but Maru is again working with a smaller army. But Heromarine pulls back. He's established his 3rd. He's evened out the worker count. He's done enough with the pressure. finally managed to find the damage. And honestly, the damage was mostly off the back of those 3 Reapers. It wasn't even really the attack. That was distracting Maru. But those 3 Reapers got so much value getting the 6 SCV kills. And Heromarine getting himself back in this game wonderfully. As +2/+2 has started up for Maru. We'll have about a 30-second advantage on that. Heromarines armory not perfectly timed up with his upgrades, but both players adding on the additional barracks. And really just kind of looking up to, again, macro up. We've had 2 games in a row where there's a bunch of early pressure, aggression, flurries and skirmishes here and there, and then it really results in kind of a net 0. Yeah, of course you can say, well, Heromarine is up right now about 20 supply, and that is true. And as mostly right now in the army, a 3 worker lead, it's not anything massive. But again, the real big difference here is going to be, I mean, again, Maru with these tank upgrades. The tank upgrades, man, he always gets them. I believe right now Heromarine, yeah, does have the +1/+1, starts his own up. The one issue for Heromarine is that you can't really push comfortably. And again, it's because of the upgrades. Maru does, and this is something that Maru does very, very well. Heromarine has been playing fantastically, but it's so hard for Heromarine to find an opening because in every game, Maru prioritizes his upgrades. Now, there's an opening here, and this is a bit of a mistake from Maru. Was trying to, get out on the map, but left this spot open. It's only 2 tanks here for Heromarine, so he's not going to, try and force the issue and push that location down, but does manage to get a cancel onto that command center, and that means that Maru, his 4th base, is going to be delayed. As it's a 30 supply lead now for Heromarine. His army, is absolutely massive. 49 Marines to the 32 of Maru, and without, +2 or even +1 on these tanks, that Marine count matters a whole lot more. Maru looks like he's going to get caught out here in the middle of the map, does have to back on up. His tanks are not sieged, and this could be a big issue. Heromarine doesn't push it, but Heromarines up 30 supply, man. This does not happen often. It's just a massive army for Heromarine, mostly in the Marines, and at this point, again, the tanks do not have any upgrades, so as long as you split your Marines, they are the most efficient thing to have more of. The DPS advantage is going to be absolutely massive. But the 2-2 finishes up for Maru. The +1 vehicle weapons is done, and 3-3 is already on the way. And this is how Maru gets back into games, but right now I can't help but feel like Heromarine, if he finds a single opening, if there's a single moment where Maru is not reading Heromarines' army movement and not reacting, then this game will just be turned on its head, and Heromarine can push it to a win. He's approaching maxed out. Maru's only at 160 supply. A double drop is even already set up, as the 4th base is, on location, and Heromarine is constantly kind of threatening with this army. Oh, there's nothing in the main. Oh, Maru, this is not looking good. Heromarine finds the double drop into the main now. Is going to look to push down this 4th. Ooh, pushes a bit too far forward, though. Loses a tank at the start. Maru is actually just going to chase this down. He's going to look to try and focus fire down these tanks. There we go. Oh, the focus fire from Maru is so good, but he's losing so much. Sure, he gets a really good attack. The tanks managed to clean up the drop in the main, but still, it's a 50 supply lead now for Heromarine. And it's all in that army. Maru down to 60 workers, but has the 4th base now. And again, the upgrades is like the one saving grace, but I don't know if that's enough to stop 50 supply worth of units coming through. Maybe it is, though. Heromarine throws away a good chunk of units there. Maru has to regroup, has to siege up his tanks, has to get ready. The planetary fortress is almost done. And once, again, it's 2-2 Marines here for both players. Oh, the stim coming through from Maru is not exactly what you want. It allows him to push the tanks forward, though, and right now Maru actually has a massive tank count. It is 11 tanks to 3. Sure, you're down 30 Marines, but as soon as this 2-2 or this +2 vehicle weapons finishes up, which Heromarine is also working on, that Marine count starts to become a little bit less important. And if you have just a monumentous amount of tanks over your opponent, it doesn't matter if Heromarine is able to use that fodder to siege his tanks forward. The big thing is here, though, Heromarine, 2 Ravens on the way. He's already transitioning into that Raven tech. Does he have the additional starports down? Yes, already at 3. Oh, Heromarine is playing a beautiful game right now. And I mean, sure, Maru's going to have +3. Sure, or +3/+3 for his bio. Sure, he's going to have +2 for his tanks. But look at this. Heromarine, he knows he has more. Loads up the quadruple drop. That's going to look to find its way towards the kind of the right side of the map. You can't really go for a Doom drop just because of the sensor tower placement of Maru. But Maru will see this. Sees the Marines. Says, oh, okay. I know what's going on. Does have 3/3, so you can try and fight it, but you don't want to fight when you're at that much of a disadvantage numbers-wise. And Maru continuing to try and keep himself in this game. Still 30 supply behind. And Heromarine, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have 53 Marines to the 24 of your opponent. Or sorry, yeah. You have the Raven advantage. Already 4 out on the map. The only thing is that Maru has 16 tanks. And now Maru has gotten his additional starports up, so he's sitting at 3 himself. And also starts a Corvid Reactor. Again, I don't know why Heromarine doesn't have Corvid Reactor. Again, you know, he got the Ravens out. It's an energy boost right off the bat. It takes less time for your Ravens to get energy. It is such a valuable upgrade in the late game. Heromarine does not have it, though. And so, while yes, he's building up energy on these Ravens, Maru should be able to actually catch up over time. If Heromarine waits too long, mind you, Heromarine, he's a base up, yes, 5 bases to 4. But if Heromarine waits too long and allows Maru to kind of catch up army size-wise, because right now it's 125 to 100. If he doesn't find, the perfect engagement, then Maru, has a way to fight back in this game, and that's 16 tanks. That's his way to fight back. Sure, there's more Ravens for Heromarine, and actually Heromarine has split his army beautifully here. Look at that. Interference matrices onto the tanks. Marine's going to try and stim forward, but it's not going to matter. More tanks being brought over, and also at the same time, the 4th base being attacked. Is Maru ready? Oh, there's no scan from Maru. Oh, this is getting worse and worse. Maru's going to have to back his own tanks up. Brings some more over. Does manage to defend his 5th. Has a majority of his army over there. But look at the interference matrices. Oh, Heromarine trying to push it, but the Dorito dust finds so much value. The Vikings are there as well. A lot of the medevacs go down, but it's the tank count that is sitting here at this 4th base. The planetary being sieged down. Maru, though, he's evened up the supply, and this is what I'm saying. If you don't find the perfect engagement, Maru had 16 tanks. He could split them at both locations and still have enough to defend. And now Maru, it doesn't look like he wants to try and break this location. He recognizes how much Heromarine has committed across the map, and he's going to look for a counterattack. Because what? There's 5, 6 tanks there? That's all of Heromarines tanks. He needs to bring them back because Maru is pushing right now with at least 8, 10 tanks at the doorstep. He's going to be able to knock down a base. And Heromarine, what are you doing? You got to unsiege your tanks. You can't have them across the map. Maru, has he found the opening? I think he has. What is there left here for Heromarine? 2 tanks immediately get disabled. More tanks sieging forward. Maru has such a deep tank line. He's going to continue to push this location. The Marines are all in red health, but it doesn't matter. They can just move forward because the tanks are giving them covering fire. Maru's pushing this into the natural now. Heromarine, he's suddenly down in army supply. How does Maru do this? Every time, man. Every time Maru does this. He's up 20 supply. The tanks are, there's only 7 left here for Heromarine. He didn't commit enough into the air army, so Maru caught up so easily. And now Maru's pushing down the main. Now Maru is going to be able to possibly take this game, and it looks like he will. The Marines are not enough to stim forward. The tanks are not getting cleaned up. Heromarine drops sub 100 supply. Maru takes game 3.